Welcome back, everyone. Today we've got something that I think has honestly been missing from the market, and I'm really excited to have my hands on. And that is this new workflow reader from Kingston. So this is the workflow station that they sent me. And they sent along with it a couple of the readers that go in it, the micro SD and SD readers. Let's set those aside for a second though and get into the workflow station. Now this is a product type that I've kind of been waiting to see come back on the market. Lexar had one before they were sold to Shenzhen Longsys. And theirs was a bit older. It was USB 3 and it was Thunderbolt 2. This is a USB 3.2 Gen 2 reader and hub. And it was actually very well timed because I was talking to Kingston right before they announced this, and it came up that someone had asked me about a reader for, they wanted something to deal with like 10 micro SD cards. I didn't have a good solution. The Lexar reader just didn't exist anymore for where they were. So that brings me to this Kingston one. So in the package, we get a Type-C and USB hub. Or say Type-C and a Type-A hub. The reader itself, which appears to be Type-C primarily. And then I am anticipating that there's going to be a cable and a power adapter in here. So we get a power brick, a universal power brick. Not as big of a fan of this particular style. So there's a couple of different ways to build these. And this one works. This one's actually rated for 12 volt 5 amp, which is a lot of power for a reader. And this has got just these little twist on and lock plugs. So, alright, now it's a US device. Now, I like this concept, but for a brick like this, I would have preferred that they use that little figure 8 IEC connector or the 3-pin one, so that we would just have a cable that goes like this. It tends to block some of the ports under my desk. And then included is a Type-C to Type-C cable. I'm a little bummed that Kingston didn't include a Type-C to Type-A as well. I've been looking at adding a 10 gig card to that video edit system that we just built, and I'm going to have to send them a note. They had their twist tight here was so tight, I don't know if you can see this, that there are little marks where it looks like it bit into the Type-C cable. I'm sure this cable is still fine, and those will probably work out if I put it somewhere warmer. Looks to be like a 3-foot cable. But that tells me that whatever machine they've got doing this is over-tightening them. So anyway, the concept to this is very similar to the Lexar reader in that you buy the base unit, although Lexar never gave you anything with the base unit. It was just blank. So Kingston's ahead there. And then you buy the pieces you need. So by default, you get this, which is actually a little bit different than what I thought. What's got? All right, so these are reversible. It's Type-C. This works, but there's enough wiggle to it that what I anticipate seeing happen is exactly that. So I don't like that. Hopefully the readers themselves are a little tighter. Reader-wise, they sent in, this is the SDHC UHS 1 and 2, USB 3.2. And these readers, by the way, are fully functional on their own. So this whole thing is just a well-designed but fancy powered USB-C hub. And I'm okay with that because this is a great organizational tool if you've got a bunch of different media cards like I do. So this is the SD one, WFS-SD, and it comes with, was this an 18-inch now? Actually, that's not 18, it's more like 13 or so inches. It's not quite 1 foot. So this comes with its own Type-C cable, and you could buy this reader and use it, no problem. Now, I like this better, and when we do the full review on this is just the unboxing. I'll bring in my Lexar reader and so we can put them side by side. This is one thing that I said Lexar missed out on, is that they made the full-size SD reader, and their reader modules were much bigger than these, but it only had a single SD card in it. You can see here Kingston, and they didn't even have to do anything weird like flip one of them over, has 2 SD modules in there. And just like before, it fits in. I think they need to add some springs or something in here to kind of retain things better. Alright, and then this is the micro SD reader, which is probably the one that I'm going to get the most use out of. Our studio camera here still shoots on micro SD. And this is once again a USB 3.2 micro SD SDHC UHS 1 and 2 class reader. And same thing, it slots in like that. Now, the one thing that Kingston's missing from this right now is more modules. You get SD, you get micro SD. There's no CFast, there's no compact flash, there's no QXD. So a lot of those higher end media formats are just kind of missing. And part of the reasoning, the rationale for that is that Kingston simply doesn't make those media cards. So I understand some of what they're going for. I don't inherently agree with it, but I understand it. Is that they don't want to make readers for products that they don't sell because that doesn't help their ecosystem as much. One thing I do want to do, because I happen to have my cards in the studio here, is I'm going to put, I immediately like that better than the Lexar reader. One thing that I have always been irritated by, and let's see if the full-size SD is the same way. It's not. With the Lexar reader was that it was a triple slot reader, so theoretically it could hold more cards than this, but you had to physically pull the cards out, and this has that nice, I don't know if you can hear it on camera. Let's try. Has that nice springy click when it releases the card. So I like that. That is an improvement. And typically I don't need all 3 micro SD cards in at once. I'll have 2 fairly often, especially when I've done a big project and I've had to change cards in the camera. So I'll have a couple that I'm offloading at a time, but very rare do I have 3 cards worth of footage that I need right now. And honestly, if I did, I could get another module, which is what's great about this. So if you're the type of person who's out all day, shooting footage on drones, or using cameras like my E1, and you're just recording card after card after card, and you come back and you've got, 628 gig cards from what you've done. Be it an event you were shooting at, doesn't really matter. You could have 3 of these, or even 4 micro SD readers in here, dump all your cards in, and then there's software out there. And this is one thing I'll tell Kingston they should probably license from someone, if not make their own, is some software out there to auto-recognize the cards and just dump it all the way it is. And depending on what software it is, and maybe I will take time to cover one of those. If you think I should, leave me in the note in the comments below. You know, it can say, when I see a card enter this slot, dump it here. And it'll dump all your micro SD footage or your SD cards or whatever else it may be. So that's absolutely fantastic. You know, I've got one other idea, and this is another thing that Lexar has that Kingston doesn't, but I don't think that it'll be as big of a problem. Let me grab something. Alright, so I went and grabbed one of the Lexar modules for a size comparison. They are bigger in almost every dimension than the Kingston modules. They are thicker, they are wider, they are deeper, and they use that old 3.0B connection, which made them a whole lot less convenient to carry around in the field. But one thing that they had, and this is actually it, is the portable SSD, which was not a workflow line product, but was built in the same form factor. And this 512 gig SSD gave me something that I could put in my media reader to have storage. But because this is Type-C, something like the Samsung portable SSD that we've been reviewing drops in here no problem. As you can see, it just slotted in. It's actually fairly secure on the Type-C connector. Maybe they just need stiffer Type-C ports on these. So you could add a couple of terabytes worth of SSD like that. ADATA, we had the SC730H. There was that little Ricoh enclosure I had. You could put a couple terabytes worth of NVMe in one of these slots and then have like an ingest station that dumps everything to the SSD, and then you take it and you throw it in your edit system. That's actually a lot cooler than I expected it to be. So maybe Kingston will make an SSD that kind of fits in that form factor. I think we had one. Actually, I might have it here in my studio. I do have it in my studio. So Kingston had this one, a little bit bigger than the Samsung. This is a HyperX drive, which I may have to look up my old footage on. And as you can see, the Type-C port's not quite as stiff as that Samsung. I think partly due to the decreased surface area face-to-face, but it's still just... This is actually a really good unit if you're going to work with a bunch of Type-C SSDs. I kind of like that. You could very easily optimize this for that workflow, and I may have to ask Kingston about some Type-C SSDs as well. Alright, so that is Kingston's new workflow station. Like I said, I'm really excited that these are back on the market. I think it's something that's been missing since Lexar ended up on the chopping block. I want to thank Kingston for sending these out for review. These were something that they were showing off as part of their CES coverage. That's actually where we first encountered them. You know, thanks to David Leong at Kingston PR, we got a chance to talk to him, which is fantastic. So obviously take, you know, anything I say with a grain of salt because they did send it out. But I'm just kind of happy to have this type of thing back on the market, honestly. I want to thank anyone who helps support Pocketables, either using our Amazon associate links or via Patreon. It is support like that that helps make videos like this possible. I want to thank Electrix for providing our opening and closing themes. And finally, thank you for watching.